Welcome to the fastest 30 minutes in football. Today on Play to Win, it's historic times for college football. The first ever playoffs will break them down. In the pros, the Falcons and the Panthers in a winner-take-all game, plus injury updates, and Jeffrey the Edge Schechter picks the big games against the spread.
Play to Win is being brought to you by John Foy and Associates and Kia Mall of Georgia and Mall of Georgia Chrysler Dodge Jeep.
Welcome to Play to Win with former Falcons All-Pro defensive end Chuck Smith. Fantasy Football League previews with Adam Brown. Game analysis with Nikki Williams. Play to Win expert Jeffrey the Edge Schechter. Medical and injury update with Dr. Andrew Lalage. And your host, Atlanta sports veteran Bob Neal.
Our college football report is being brought to you by Mall of Georgia Chrysler Dodge Jeep and Kia Mall of Georgia.
All right, welcome to the show during this holiday season. I'd wish the same to all of you. Jeffrey, Nikki, Chuck, and Bob. Ready to roll? Good holidays so far?
Happy holidays.
All right, let's get started with college football. Speaking of holidays, this is the biggest weekend coming up in college football in a long time because it's the beginning of the playoff system, which is a historic moment in college football. As a matter of fact, it's so historical, we thought we'd list some of the big moments in college football. First game, Rutgers-Princeton, 1869. How about
that game, I think.
Jeffrey was there. And I started my career in 1935. First Heisman Trophy winner, Jay Berwanger.
Princeton.
Who'd you pick in the first game, Rutgers?
I had Princeton with the points.
All right, there you go. Jay Berwanger won the first Heisman at the University of Chicago. How many people know the name of that team? The Maroons, the Chicago Maroons. First AP poll, look, nothing's changed much. LSU and Alabama, still two SEC teams, two of the top four. First post-bowl game polls, SEC hold their first conference championship game, overtime rules, BCS in 98, and 2014, the playoffs. And Chuck, you remember 92 and 98 because of your times at Tennessee.
It was my senior year at Tennessee, and I remember all year they talked about next year there's going to be an SEC championship, and you guys are 1 year too late. But it was an awesome game to watch. I think it was Alabama-Miami?
Yeah.
Alabama-Miami, I remember that.
There you go. All right, let's get started, and let's talk about the bowl games. We've got a bunch of bowl games that have to do with the playoffs, of course. The first two, the Sugar and Rose, are the semifinals, Alabama, Ohio State, FSU, and Oregon. By the way, Jeffrey will be picking those. And in the Peach Bowl, Ole Miss and TCU. And let's talk a little bit about that before we get into the semifinals, or the Final Four as it was, and that's the TCU Ole Miss game. And let's start with you, Chuck. How do you see it?
Disrespect. That's what the Big 12's feeling when they play against the SEC West. You get a chance to play against Ole Miss. I mean, you basically have a chance now to tell the entire country you were wrong on the decision not to put us, TCU, in the Final Four. Gary Patterson, TCU, explosive offense. Better watch out, Ole Miss. I'm telling you, they're coming to play. They got something to prove. They got a chip on their shoulders.
All right, big game at the Peach Bowl. How do you see it?
Well, Chuck, I think this will be a low-scoring game. I don't think TCU will blow them out at all. Both of these teams have weaknesses. We've seen it in the schedule. The Rebels struggle against the better fronts, and TCU has a hard time against teams that can blow the lid off of their aggressive defense. I say this will be tough for either team to score.
Well, okay. Well, Ole Miss has one of the best defenses in the country. Jeffrey, how do you see it?
It's TCU's high-powered offense against Ole Miss's excellent defense.
All right, that's about how it's going to come down to. Now it is time for our showdowns with an S of the week, and of course that would be the first ever Final Fours. And we're going to start with Sandra Golden, brought to you by the Georgia Lottery, by the way, and Sandra Golden from 680s with our 68 seconds with 680. Now everybody's talking about the bowl season and the playoff games, and everybody's happy about them. It's really good for everybody. Well, Sandra says, not so fast.
Tis the season, and I'm talking about bowl season, but let's face it, the semifinals, the college football playoff, that's the game we all want to go to. Can you imagine being a student at Oregon, FSU, Alabama, or Ohio State and get to go to this game? Yeah, well, that's basically what the kids are doing now, imagining they're going. I took a look at the numbers here, and I'm going to use Alabama as an example because they actually got 13,000 tickets, not for students, for their entire allotment to go to the Sugar Bowl. Do you know how many of those are able for the students to even buy? How about a whopping 12%? Do the math. That's 1,560 tickets available to students to buy for $175. So who are you kidding, NCAA, and this whole college football playoff for the student athlete? These students can't afford to go. The ticket prices on StubHub, the highest ticket in college football this bowl season is to the Sugar Bowl, and right now it's averaging over $600. If you got $10,000, you can sit on the 50. Go look it up. The game in Pasadena, the Rose Bowl, Oregon FSU, is a slightly bit cheaper at $400 and change. These kids aren't going. And Bob, that's what I hope changes next year for the bowl season. 'Tis the season for change.
Thank you, Sandra. Next year, hopefully, I'll make enough money so I can buy a ticket. I haven't bought a ticket to a game. What am I saying? I haven't bought a ticket to a game in a long time. Everybody comes across with a ticket somewhere right now. All right, let's get into the Final Four.
Big money, man. Stop that.
Big money, and I don't have to spend it, which is a nice. It's good to be me. Okay, let's start with the Final Four, and let's go to Game 1, and that is the number 1 seed Alabama versus number 4 seed Ohio State. Nikki, get us started.
I'll tell you this right now, too. If you know Alabama fans like I do, they'll be willing to sell their firstborn to get to that game. They don't care how much it costs. They'll sell their home, their cars, whatever it takes.
Exactly.
Ohio State, for the first time, these guys are not going to be able to rely solely on talent and depth to take this game. Can they win? I think they for sure can, for the same reason why they lost to Michigan State, Clemson, and Virginia Tech. These individual games don't always favor the teams with the most stars. Cardale Jones, he is maturing as a quarterback. However, someone needs to take the keys away from his Twitter account.
Yeah,
That's
no
a whole
kidding.
other story.
And Cardale Jones is the 3rd-team quarterback. He's played pretty well, but can they beat Alabama?
Well, the most important quarterback in this game is going to be Blake Sims, and the most important part of what he needs to do in this championship game is to manage the offense and get the ball to the playmakers and don't make any silly mistakes.
All right, and Amari Cooper, of course, will be one of his favorite playmakers. And now the other game is 2 Oregon and 3 Florida State. And Chuck, I can't wait for this game for many reasons, but 2 Heisman winners, Marcus Mariota and Jameis Winston.
And it's only happened 3 times, Bob, and this is what makes it special. The number 1 word that I can put behind these 2 quarterbacks, winner, clutch. They both can throw the ball. They're both going to be NFL draft picks. But to me, this comes down to really which offense is going to be the most explosive. I really like Mariota and Oregon coming out because they're going to go up-tempo. Florida State, to me, is average on defense. And I just believe that Marcus Mariota is going to be able to handle Jameis Winston. But I think Winston's going to make some plays, and he's going to have a heck of a day also.
All right, that leads us right to defense. Which one of the defenses will stand up to stop both high-powered offenses?
A few weeks ago, I would have said Oregon, but FSU's getting healthy right now when it counts. Oregon's just lost their star cornerback, Ifo Ekpre Olamu. Don't come at me on Twitter. I said that right.
Well done.
Good job. You got it right.
They're losing their star cornerback. FSU is tearing it up right now on defense. I think FSU's defense has the speed necessary to contain Oregon's weapons. I say FSU controls that defense.
All right, now and the big moment is the Edge making his predictions in the first ever Final Four.
Florida State has lived very dangerously this year. Falling behind, coming back. You fall too far behind Oregon, they'll bury you so deep they won't find the bodies for a million years. That being said, I like FSU. Take the points. It's going to be a good game. Ohio State, yours truly, as well as everybody else, got carried away, went with Wisconsin because of the injury. So now everybody's starting to like Ohio State. Not going to happen. Alabama's going to bury them. Give the points. Good matchup here with Ole Miss and TCU. I just think TCU has too much firepower. If they get ahead of Ole Miss, the game's over. Give the 3.
All right, there you go. There's the Edge picking the first ever Final Four in college football. Come back in a moment with our hometown team report and talk about the Belk Bowl and the Orange Bowl. And yes, that means Georgia and Georgia Tech. Stay with us on Play to Win.
Unwrap a great new deal on a new vehicle during the Big Finish at Mall of Georgia Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram. Pick out a new Dodge Dart SE with automatic for only $189 per month. This is a purchase, not a lease. A 2015 Chrysler 200 Limited is only $229 per month. Also a purchase and not a lease. Or find a 2014 Ram 1500 Crew Cab for just $359 per month. Purchase, not a lease. The Big Finish at Mall of Georgia Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram or online at yourdodge.com.
Your life moves fast, so when your plumbing goes bad, we know you want it fixed fast. I'm Brian Estes, inviting you to see what we can provide with our plumbing services. We're dedicated to the same high standards of quality we've held ourselves to since 1949. From leak repairs to water pressure, from water heaters to toilet issues. Estes is dependable, proven, and ready to help. Call Estes and we'll fix it at the speed of life.
We're Estes Services. We'll fix it at the speed of life.
Right after I got hurt in my car wreck, the other guy's insurance company offered to fix my car. They only offered me $750 for my injury. And they wanted me to sign this.
Don't sign anything until you've talked to me. I'm Attorney John Foy, the Strong Arm. You may be giving up tens of thousands of dollars by signing the insurance company's release form. Call me.
And they offered me this check for $1,000.
Don't take that check. Let me get you the money you deserve. Call in the Strong Arm.
Call Attorney John Foy, the Strong Arm.
It's a great time to drop into Nissan for up to $1,000 holiday bonus cash on select models from our most innovative lineup ever. The most exciting event of the season is going on now at Nissan.
Lease Altima just $189 per month, or choose 0% plus save up to $2,000.
Get to Nissan's holiday event.
Shop ChooseNissan.com. Innovation that excites.
Hometown Team Report is being brought to you by Mellow Mushroom Pizza Bakers, bringing a higher order of pizza to Atlanta for 40 years.
In the Hometown Team Report today, we're talking about the Belk Bowl and the Orange Bowl. And of course, that means Georgia playing Louisville. I like that game. It's up in Charlotte, December 30th. And number 7, Mississippi State versus 12, Georgia Tech. Orange Bowl, I also like that one on January 1st. So let's break down the games. And we're going to start, of course, first with Georgia and Louisville. And the Georgia-Louisville game, I think, is very interesting for many reasons, one of which we'll talk about with Chuck in a minute about Grantham, the defensive coordinator for Georgia, now up in Louisville. But, Jeffrey, start us on that game, Georgia-Louisville.
Well, Georgia's in a familiar position. Their superior talent against a team with a superior coach. So it'll be interesting.
All right, Nikki, Louisville, offensive key, defensive key.
Offensively, these guys have improved over the last 4 games. That has a lot to do with the return of Devontae Parker. Defensively, though, they've done the exact opposite over the last 4 games. They haven't done well. FSU scored 42 on them, Kentucky 40.
Yeah. Okay, let's talk Georgia's offense. Georgia's offense now was going to be without offensive coordinator Mike Bobo has been hired at Colorado State. What do you think of that, first of all?
Well, I think that's good for Mike Bobo. Congratulations. But I think it's good that now Mark Richt's going to be kind of leading the charge and taking over the coordinator job for the bowl game. But just crank up that diesel and ride Nick Chubb and hand him the ball and let the young phenom freshman run the rock and do what he does, and Georgia will be fine. All
right, now, Jeremy Pruitt came from Florida State, the first year at Georgia's defensive coordinator. How do you think he's got this team playing defense now?
Well, I think right now, Jeremy Pruitt, you're only as good as your last game. And the last game we watched, Georgia got drugged through the mud by Georgia Tech running the ball. So I think it's going to be important for it's going to be important for Georgia to stop the run and make Louisville one-dimensional and force them to have to throw the ball.
Okay, let's go to Georgia Tech and Mississippi State. Jeffrey, give us a start. Georgia Tech, Mississippi State, Orange Bowl.
2 great offenses. Georgia Tech running the ball, their passing's improved. Prescott and Mississippi State, this is going to be a high-scoring game.
All right, Nikki, how about Dak Prescott? He was running for the Heisman in the running of most of the season, finished 8th, but still a great quarterback.
Yeah, those chances faded a little halfway through the season, but he's always been dangerous with his feet. He's going to need to revert to his early style of playing earlier in the season when he was getting defenses through the air also.
All right, here's my interesting. How will Mississippi State stop the Georgia Tech offense?
Well, number one, you got to take away the fullbacks. You got to take away the B-backs. You got to take away the dive. That is the foundation of the Georgia Tech offense. Then you figure out who's going to have the ball after that. But you got to beat up the fullback. If you don't stop them, they're going to continue to run downhill with you.
You know, Paul Johnson coach teams are 1-5 in bowl games. This is partially because it's all about preparation when it comes to this unique offense. Giving them time to prepare will be the key to beat Georgia Tech.
That's a good stat, 1-5. There she is, Ms. Stat. 2015. We're going to next year. We'll be back in a moment. Well, Hometown Team Report always includes the Falcons. This week we've saved a whole segment for the Falcons Showdown.
The Wizard, can you make me real so I can eat real mellow mushroom pizza instead of cartoon pizza?
Stand back. Here we go. Alakazam! Wiggity stickety poof!
I'm still a cartoon.
Then that'd be a no.
Everyone wants real mellow mushroom pizza because our pies use premium meats and cheeses, fresh veggies, and spring water dough baked with wheat goodness.
Wiggity stickety poof.
Mellow mushroom, a higher order of pizza.
You better watch out, you better not cry, better not pout, I'm telling you why. Santa Claus is coming to town. He sees you when you're sleeping, he knows when you're awake. He knows if you've been bad or good, so be good for goodness sake.
Make your dreams come true this season with the Infinity Limited Engagement Winter Event. Right now, lease an Infinity Q50 for $329 a month. Visit your Atlanta area Infinity retailer.
Hey, look at this. I'm totally taking this back. This is hideous. I put absolutely no thought into it. It's so obvious.
Oh, you must think I'm still fat. I do.
I'm gonna smash this little guy with a bat.
I'll help you.
Give a better gift this year, like a chance to win up to $750,000 with the Jingle Bucks family of scratchers from the Georgia Lottery.
Hometown team report continues with the Atlanta Falcons, Carolina Panthers. What's at stake in this game in the NFC South in the playoffs? It's simple. Winner take all. Win, playoffs, lose, go home. Let's start talking about the Falcons first with the guy who knows defense better than anybody I know, and that is Chuck Smith. How about the Falcons? Well, you do. You were an all-pro with the Falcons on defense. They played well against New Orleans, but how are they going to do this week?
Well, it starts off with making New Orleans one-dimensional. New Orleans couldn't run the ball on the Falcons. It forced them to have to throw the ball with Drew Brees in a flawed passing game. The defensive line got after the quarterback with 5 sacks. They created turnovers, and that's the recipe. And they weathered the storm. It's something I said the Falcons had to do. After the opening kickoff, the Falcons regrouped and came out and played ball.
All right, they're playing well right now, so it could be tough for Carolina. 2 great quarterbacks in Matt Ryan and Cam Newton. And if I'm not mistaken, I overheard you say you think Matt Ryan's playing better than Cam right now.
Well, he is. Statistically, he's having one of the best seasons of his career. 5% touchdown rating, 2.2% interception, and a 96 NFL passer efficiency rating on paper. Right now, Matt Ryan is of no comparison to Cam Newton.
He certainly looked good last week. It looks like all 3 of the wide receivers will be healthy and playing in the game too. But what about Cam?
Well, the first thing you got to do with Cam Newton, you got to affect the quarterback. You got to slam Cam, meaning when Cam thinks it's going to be a blitz, it's got to be a coverage. When Cam thinks it's coverage, you got to send the blitzers and you got to lay him on his back. You have to make him uncomfortable and hit him and make him feel the pain in the dome.
All right, the pain in the dome, slam. They'll have a specific camera on that. It'll be called the Slam Cam. And now it's time for Jeffrey the Edge and the picks for all of our home team games. First of all, let's start with Georgia-Louisville in the Belk Bowl.
Georgia fans must be thrilled about going to Charlotte for the Belk Bowl. I think Bobby Petrino will take advantage of a lot of Georgia weaknesses, take Louisville with the points. A lot of points going to be scored with Tech and Mississippi State. Mississippi State kind of flattened out at the end of the year. I like Tech. I like them to win the game straight up. My hat's off to Atlanta. They went to New Orleans. They had a win. They beat them up, dominated the game, and they're going to do the same thing to Carolina this week. Give the 3.5.
All right, we'll come back in just a moment with the player medical report, and I'll also update you on Atlanta and Carolina injuries as we continue with Play to Win.
Our 10th anniversary celebration ends this month with our biggest year-end sale down ever now at Kia Mall of Georgia. Treat yourself to a new 2015 Kia Sorento starting at only $19,997 or choose 0% APR for up to 72 months. We have the 2015 Kia Optima starting at just $16,997 or choose 0% APR for up to 72 months. 2 amazing cars with 0% APR for up to 72 months. Kia Mall of Georgia, 2.5 miles west of the Mall of Georgia or online at lovemykia.com.
We've owned a few different houses through the years. Your company was absolutely the best. They were so professional. Everything they did, they didn't get a mark on a wall or anything else. It was clean, it was friendly, and it was fun. And most of the time, moving is not fun. I'm going to give a great recommendation to Atlanta Peach Movers. It's always on time and it's always professional. There is no tree in Atlanta Peach Movers.
To schedule your move, call Atlanta Peach Movers today.
Today's injury report is brought to you by John Foy and Associates. If you've been injured in an accident, be sure to call John Foy, the strong arm.
Our NFL injury report focuses on the Atlanta-Carolina ball game and the injuries going in. So let's update some of the key players in those games. Jackson Moore and Asamoah for the Falcons. As you see, Jackson's probable, Moore, Asamoah are questionable. Cam Newton still got a back problem, will play. DeAngelo Williams probably will play, even though he's listed as questionable. Roman Harper, the safety with a thigh injury, he will also play. And that is the NFL Injury Report, brought to you by John Foy and Associates. Now, Adam Brown is off this week with fantasy football, but we have fantasy implications coming up on our Player Medical Report now, brought to you by Estes Services in Who's Hot and Who's Cold. And let's go to Dr. A, Dr. Andrew Lalage, Chief Medical Officer of the Radiology Group and the creator of Inside Injuries. And Doc, let's start with Johnny Manziel. Has a hamstring. He's out for the year. My question is, what's that hamstring all about?
So Johnny Manziel, hamstring injury. There's been a plethora of hamstring injuries in the NFL, from running backs to wide receivers to quarterbacks. Johnny Manziel is out. Let's take a look at his hamstring injury. So this is a front x-ray of the hips. This is the right hip and that's the left hip. See these lines? That's where the hamstring tendon attaches. Now if we go to the next image, you'll see that this is a side MRI, and you see that there's a nice amount of black around this area, and then you have all this white substance. That's the hamstring muscle and tendon that has got a lot of fluid in it. It is a significant injury. Now, if we go to the next image, this is actually a cross-section of that exact area, and you can actually see, look at all that white. That's all that fluid with the hamstring injury. This is normal muscle. This is abnormal muscle. Now, hamstring injuries are pretty significant for mobile quarterbacks because they've got to get out of the way of these defensive backs as opposed to pocket passers like Tom Brady and Peyton Manning. Now let's take a look at some report cards. Julian Edelman sustained a concussion again. He's had a right foot injury and a broken hand injury. He's downgraded to a C at 55%. Now if we go to the next report card, Steven Jackson, big time game coming up. However, he's had a quadriceps injury now, and now he's had a hamstring injury and a previous hamstring injury in 2011. He's downgraded to a C, 55% performance. I would not start him if you're playing those weekly leagues.
All right, that's Dr. A with today's Player Medical Report. We're going to come back in just a moment and continue with the NFL.
There's nothing like waking up on that first cold day of winter weather and turning on your heating system only to find out it doesn't work. I'm Tommy Estes. Call Estes Services ahead of time and avoid the discomfort. With our pre-season maintenance and safety inspection, your system can be running at peak efficiency. Call us today or visit estesair.com and find out everything this inspection offers. Save energy and money with dual fuel. Call your man for all seasons at Estes.
We'll fix it at the speed of life.
Right after I got hurt in my car wreck, the other guy's insurance company offered to fix my car, but they only offered me $750 for my injuries. And then they wanted me to sign this.
Don't sign anything until you've talked to me. I'm Attorney John Foy, the Strong Arm. You may be giving up tens of thousands of dollars by signing the insurance company's release form. Call me.
Their insurance company offered to fix my car and offer me this check for $1,000.
Don't take that check. Let me get you the money you deserve. Call on the Strong Arm.
Call attorney John Foy, the Strong Arm.
The NFL Report is brought to you by the Greater Atlanta Nissan dealers. Innovation that excites.
Except for seedings, most everything's settled in the NFL playoffs. Let's start first of all with the NFC, and there's one big game that will determine who wins the NFC Central, and that is Green Bay playing the Detroit Lions. How do you see it, Chuck?
Well, I see this one going the way it always goes when Green Bay plays at home. Aaron Rodgers does well, they win. He does great at home.
Nikki, your thoughts?
You know why? Because Aaron Rodgers has 360 consecutive passes with 0 interceptions at home. That is the longest in NFL history.
And a significant game in the AFC this week will be the Bengals playing at the Steelers, Chuck.
The Steelers are one of the most improved teams I've seen in the second half. Watch out. They're stopping the run. They're throwing big-time plays on offense with Ben Roethlisberger. They're a dangerous, dangerous team to face in the playoffs.
Cincinnati is too, except for Andy Dalton. It's time now to pick the games. Here's Jeffrey the Edge. What do you see?
There's the home Packers and there's the road Packers. The home Packers will defeat Detroit, cover the 7.5. I like Pittsburgh. I think they're the team to beat. They're coming on. Give the 3 over Cincy. I went to sleep the other night. I figured San Diego's done. I woke up. They came back from the dead, and I like them against Kansas City this week.
All right, we're going to come to the lightning round in just a moment. Stay with us. We're on Play to Win.
It's a great time to drop into Nissan for up to 1,000 holiday bonus cash on select models from our most innovative lineup ever. The most exciting event of the season is going on now at Nissan.
Lease Altima just $189 per month, or choose 0% plus save up to $2,000.
Get to Nissan's holiday event.
Shop ChooseNissan.com. Innovation that excites.
Why can't I have a slice of yours?
You're a cartoon. You can only have cartoon pizza.
It's not fair.
Look, this pie is 100% real, and you're colored ink. It's physics, man.
Well, can you buy me a beer?
I can buy you a cartoon beer. Are you single?
It's a pride.
Everyone wants real mellow mushroom pizza because our pies use premium meats and cheeses, fresh veggies, and spring water dough baked with wheat goodness. Mellow mushroom, a higher order of pizza.
Oh, a kitty book. Now everyone will know I'm still single. Yay!
Oh, man. This is going to go straight in the trash.
Oh, I'm gonna look like a mountain of cotton candy.
I'm gonna accidentally leave this behind tonight.
Let's never do this again.
Give a better gift this year, like a chance to win up to $750,000 with the Jingle Bucks family of scratchers from the Georgia Lottery.
Today's Lightning Round is brought to you by Georgia Power Company. Get energy efficient and get rebates from Georgia Power. Go to georgiapower.com.
Time for the lightning round, and Jeffrey, start with Texas A&M and West Virginia.
I like A&M with the points. An SEC underdog, they should beat West Virginia.
Auburn over Wisconsin, huh?
Wisconsin gave up 50 points to Ohio State. Auburn has more speed. Auburn will kill him, give the points.
Michigan State over Baylor?
D'Antoni's the best coach in the country. He's going to stop Baylor, take the 3.
Kansas State, UCLA.
I'm not a UCLA fan. I like Kansas State to cover the 2.
And going into the NFL, New Orleans over Tampa. No, Tampa Bay. You think New Orleans has just lost it, right?
They got to rebuild that team. They're terrible. Their only concern is if the air conditioning on the bus is working to take them to the airport. Take the 4.
That's their big worry. Philadelphia at the Giants.
Now, Philly's going to be concerned if the heat is on in the bus to take them back to Philadelphia. Give the 2.5 with the Giants.
Okay, it's time to pick who's going to play in the championship game in college football. Jeffrey.
Seminoles and Tide.
Seminoles and Tide. Nikki.
Seminoles and Tide.
Wow, and Chuck.
What is this? Ducks and the Tide. The Ducks rolling with the Tide.
You're going with that. I got to go with famous Jameis. Florida State is going to play Alabama, and that's it for Play to Win. We will see you next week.
Today's show has been brought to you by Mellow Mushroom Pizza Bakers and the Greater Atlanta Nissan dealers.